Alright, so today we're going to be changing the hydraulic lift arm on this 2012 GMC Terrain. It's been leaking a little bit of hydraulic fluid for a while, and now we've got it to the point where you open it up, it'll slowly start to drift back down and close itself. So we'll go ahead and change this out. The first step that we're going to want to do is open up the door and prop it open with the stick so it doesn't fall down once we take these hydraulic lifts off. Second thing we're going to want to do is come over here and we're going to take off this battery. You always want to disconnect the negative panel whenever you're working on something, especially that has airbag systems. This 2012 Terrain has an airbag in the back panel where we're going to have to get in under to remove the hydraulic linkage. So to remove the battery on this, it's kind of a little bit of a process. You have to, I've already got it taken off, but this is a 10mm nut. You unscrew it. It's going to unclamp this bar here that holds this negative terminal on, and once that's undone, you can just kind of rock it back and forth, pull it straight off. In order to get to this though, the computer is actually sitting down on top of it. To remove that, you have to remove this 10mm bolt that's here, a 10mm bolt that's here, and a 10mm bolt, or nut rather, that's here, sitting down on top of this stud. Once you get those off, this whole computer can lift off and you can just set it out of the way. We've also got a plastic trim cover that has to come out of here. This we probably could have left in place, but it was a little easier for me to work, so I just pulled the plastic trim cover off. Has a couple of these plastic clips. This one here sits down inside one of these panels like so. Little tab pushes down inside, kind of spreads it out and locks it in place. So to remove it, pull this little plastic tab out straight up, then pull that out with it. Once you've got all that done, everything can just kind of pull right off. We can set that out of the way. So we've got our negative disconnected. Now we can start looking at getting this hydraulic arm off. And in order to do that, the hydraulic pump on this model is actually located behind this left panel. So for us to get here, we got to take this floorboard out and just set it off to the side. And you can see that we've got this trim panel here that's covering up this panel here. So I've already started working it. It's just a little bit of captive clips that you have to pull up a little bit of pressure on, and it'll start to pop out. So you just grab close to the base of the panel as far as you can and just pull straight up, rocking back and forth a little bit until you feel the panel start to give way. I'll show you the clip once I get it off on this side. But you just want to grab it and rock it back and forth just a little bit until it snaps off. There. And there. So these clips here are always holding it in, and this metal one here stayed under, so I'll come back and I'll pull that one out in just a bit. So now that we got that out of the way, we can start to look and see what else might be securing this panel down, and it's most likely very similar clips as well. We do have these two tie down points here. If you squeeze and pull them off, you can see that it needs a T40 bit. I'll just go ahead and remove this tie down. It's kind of partially holding this panel on. And then we can just take this and set it off to the side out of the way. This formed styrofoam makes a good holder for different pieces so they don't get lost while you're working. So up to this point, I haven't quite figured out how this panel is going to come off, so we're just going to do it slowly, bit at a time. There we go. You just give it a little pull. It looks like if you get close to the base of it, start pulling, it looks like it's going to separate from this top panel. Yeah, same way that these did. You want to get your fingers always as close to the plastic piece as you can and pull a little outward pressure. Try to work straight out. Okay, so now we have this 12-volt cigarette lighter accessory port here. It's got a plug in the back, so you want to unplug that so you don't pull anything off as you're working. There we go, and I'll show you that once we get it out. Now coming around, yeah, if you come around over here, this right here was the plug for the 12-volt accessory.
Okay.
And this down here, this is our hydraulic pump. This is what, if you look right here, has our pump or our tubes going up to that hydraulic lift arm. So I'm gonna work on getting the rest of this panel off around this door seal. So come on around here, and it looks like it's gonna be much the same.
I can't really see anything.
Oh, okay. If you get a little better view, you can go around back. I'm trying to remember how to lower this seat down.
Right, yeah.
There we go. So it looks like by pulling it, I've actually got most of it off. And there's just one little piece going on right there. And now this panel we can lift up and out of the way. Let me untangle it from the seatbelt here. There we go. And that gives us access to our hydraulic pump over here. Now it looks like, yeah, I didn't want to have to take this top plastic panel off, but it looks like we're gonna have to, because the hydraulic lines run up and under it, and I can't see what I'm doing unless I get them off. Let me grab a screwdriver. So looking at it, we've got these little plastic pieces here that tells me there's a screw, a bolt, something underneath that needs to come out. So you just get I like to use a little thin screwdriver, flathead screwdriver, get it under here and pry out. And yep, it looks like that might be maybe an 8mm. Let me grab a ratchet and I'll be right back. So yeah, we got an 8mm hex bolt, maybe 8, might be 7, hard to tell really. Got the 8, too big. I find that the more and more I work on American cars, the more and more I need metric tools. 7mm does it. And try to be careful pulling this out because it looks like it leads to a bottomless abyss. Let me grab a pair of pliers so I don't drop it. If it falls, it looks like it would just fall straight out though, so maybe not the end of the world, but I'd rather not chance it. And then we have another one in there, that's where it shows airbag, so there's probably an airbag under that panel. Which is why we wanted to disconnect our negative. Yep, and another 8 or a 7mm hex bolt. Thank you. Looks like that one came far enough out for me though. This one's got a little bit of silicone on it. Alright, so looking under here, I don't see anything else obvious holding this panel on. So we're gonna repeat the same process. We're gonna kind of get our hands under and we're gonna start prying just gently out, and we're gonna release those plastic clips holding it in. This one's not gonna come all the way out though because the seatbelt's fed through the panel. We can pull it off to the side enough to do what we need to do. So same thing, grab under and gently rock it out. And you can see that these were the clips that was holding it on. So when we put it back on, this car's already been repaired once and it looks like they didn't quite line that one up quite right. It's all right, we'll fix it as we do this. And it looks like a couple other clips may have stayed under. So we'll pull those back out and we'll put them back together when this is all done. Okay, so that gets me access to the hydraulic pump for the most part. Now it looks like the headliner has to partially come down to get there.
Goodness. And that's under the seal.
Yeah. So this one we're not going to take all the way down, but we are going to remove this Phillips head screw to that mounting point there, and that should give us enough access to do what we need to do. All right, let me go grab my screwdriver. This one will just kind of pull down, see how much we actually need to remove. And then they coil up and back out. So now I can get to everything I think I need to get to. So give me a few minutes to sort this out and we'll be back. Okay, so far update on what we've done. Got the old cables out. They had these little clips here that pop into the body frame to hold the hoses in place. I just kind of grabbed them with a pair of needle nose vice grips and pried until they either popped out of their little holds or until they broke off. We're throwing this one away, so it doesn't really matter so much if it stays in good shape or not. Next thing I'm going to do is actually work on getting this piece right here goes into the body. I'm going to work on getting that out so I can start pulling cable slack out. Now if you come around to the other side, I'll show you what I've done up here. So I grabbed just a pair of needle nose vice grips, and right here I pried this boot back and exposed this locking unit that locks into the body. Can you see that all right?
Yeah.
So we're going to grab a screwdriver and I'm going to try and see if we can, these little clips, there's 4 of them, 1, 2, 3, and 4. If you pry down and pull out at the same time, it should allow that piece to come out so we can feed all the cables back through. So we'll just reach in here, we'll pry down on that little clip. At the same time we're pulling back, and it should help us to, unseat this from the, it's gonna be a little back and forth with this, so I might have to have you come back in just a moment. But we just push down, pull out, and repeat that process for all 4 of the pieces. And we'll start to slide this out. You gotta be careful though, because if you push it too far back in while you're trying to do this, you'll reseat it. And we got one more in this bottom corner. I'm gonna switch you. You're okay, I'm just switching you spots. And this one here. And this last corner is kind of hard to get to because of this boot. Bringing, of course, a big bulky screwdriver, so if you use a thinner screwdriver blade, it might make it just a little easier. Let me get my long screwdriver, which might be too fat as well, but it'll let me reach in there and see if I can get it. Okay, I'm gonna have to get a longer, thinner screwdriver, so I'll be back. So, just got this one. What I ended up opting for is a very small bladed screwdriver rather than a fat long one. And there, now we've got it, and this whole plastic piece is free from our body. Okay, so the last thing I gotta do before I can pull the strut off is come down here to where these hoses are, and I need to actually pull them out of the pump unit. So looking at this reservoir, in order for me to do that, it looks like there's maybe 3 maybe 10mm nuts, and this whole pump reservoir will pull off of the body. I already disconnected the electrical power plug from it, so let me grab my ratchet, which I have over here, switch to a 10mm, and then we'll give that a go. Now it is important to note I'm not a professional mechanic, I'm self-taught. I worked on planes for a while, so that's where most of my mechanical knowledge comes from. But honestly, if I can do this, most people can do this. This one's a little difficult to get to because of how deep in there it is. Just use a 10mm on an extension, you should be all right. Okay, now that we've got the 3 nuts, this pump just pulls right off of the body wall. Now it looks like we've got a plastic cover. Try not to turn it upside down because there is fluid inside of this. To get this plastic cover off, there's little tabs around the edges. Just pull them out and slide the cover back. Alright, let's see what we have inside. So it looks like there is some foam insulation material. And that just pulls out. And then the actual pump, hydraulic pump, I'm going to undo this cable right here to give me more slack. And this power clip is plugged in, so maybe I don't want to do that. I was just trying to give myself more slack once I get this pump module out. It's wedged in here pretty good. And all this foam material. We got to get to the front of it where these clips are. And it looks like we got a good amount of fluid even though there's been a leak. So I don't think we're going to have to top off this fluid. It's wedged in there pretty good, so it's definitely... There we go, wanting to fight me. Now we get to our actual pump mechanism for the hydraulic hoses. So these quick disconnects, let's see if we can figure them out. Looks like what we'd have to do is take a screwdriver and just lightly pry out on the fitting. Maybe a pair of pliers to spread it might be a little easier because I need to pry both sides at the same time. So get our pair of pliers right around that nipple and just spread out. And it should hopefully slide off of the nipple. There we go, like that. And then same on this side, right around this brass nipple. Push in, it'll spread it out, and then pull off. Now we've got our hydraulic pump mechanism here. I'm going to rest it right off to the side so we don't drop it. There we go. We'll pull our hoses out of our insulating material. Ooh, it's sliding, I see it. It's fine, it's not going to fall. Pull these out, and that's it. Now we just got to actually pull the hydraulic arm off. So let me find my little screwdriver I set down. Kind of a big job, as you could see. No, that's not the one I wanted. I wanted the little thin one that I was using. Okay, let me find my screwdriver and I'll get back to you. Okay, so if you come on around, I'll show you how we're going to get the hydraulic arm off of the door itself. So right here, we have these little quick snaps. To get them off, take a flat-bladed screwdriver and just kind of pry it up under this and work it while you're prying out. There we go. And then you'll get that. This little spring-loaded clip is what's actually holding the ball mechanism onto the door. And so now you can just pry it off. You got your wood, right? Lifting your door, because if you don't, it's going to fall down on your head and you're not going to be having fun. So just repeat the same thing here. On this side, pry off that, and the whole thing pops out. And now we can feed out the cables. So just reach up under the headliner and feed those through as you're pulling them out. Now there is a cable under here, so you're gonna wanna try to feed around that. There we go. Reach up under, and as you're feeding, make sure you're not caught on any panels down there. And this one's still got the clip on it. And that is how you remove the hydraulic power lift arm. So we can take this, we're gonna feed it back through these holes, and we're gonna connect it up the exact same way that we took it apart. So I'm gonna feed these cables through this piece, mount and I'll show you mounting these clips on as soon as I get it fed through. So back in a moment. Okay, so we got our hydraulic lift arm. The cables have been run through. What we're going to do is we're gonna just slide it in. We got that plastic, the brown plastic piece that we were fighting with getting off earlier. It's right here. You just get it to the body, to the opening there. You see that okay?
Mm-hmm.
And you just push into lock. Simple as that. While we're down here, take this half moon that we pried out to release it from the ball. Just line it up and push. It'll snap and lock on. This one here, we might have to fight with a little bit because this strut's just a little long. So what we'll have to do is lift up this wood beam until that can line up, and then press it on. There we go. A little bit of lubricating grease just to
Sorry
ease
about
out,
that.
which is
Battery
normal. So I had to charge it up or switch over to another device, and here we are. So now that we've actually got it up, the hydraulic fluid that's in the line is going to actually hold this strut up for us. So at this point, everything is the reverse of installation. We got a big mess of panels that we need to put back on. Headliner needs to go back up. We'll go ahead. I'm going to take you through putting the pump module assembly back together, and then I'll leave the rest of the assembly back to you guys. So up here, we're going to just take where we were fighting with our plugs, and snap them in. Or just find out which ones those are. I'm going to come back to that because I need to get the coil right. So let me just run you through the hydraulic pump assembly really quick, and we'll call it good. I need to what I'm focusing on is the cable had a little bit of a coil in it when it was up there. I'm not exactly sure which way I'm going to coil it right now, but I'm not going to bore you guys with that whole portion of it. So to get this all back together, we're going to grab our hydraulic pump module assembly, bring it back. We're going to look and see which cable goes where on our pump module. So the cables are going to run in through the front. Let me lower this down. So as they run in through the front, the cable, make sure you're looking at which one is going to snap where. So obviously the one with the spring clip here is going to line up with this one. The one without the spring clip will line up to the one that has the spring clip on the pump module. So when you take this, make sure you're running it through the proper way in these holes when you line it up. So for me, the way I'm looking at it right now, spring clip is on my left, non-spring clip is on my right. I feed it through here. You're right. I do have to. I would have caught that eventually.
Sorry. You want to start?
No, it's fine. So we're going to feed it through the pump body, the housing assembly. Then we're going to repeat what I just did. One with the spring clip is going to go to the left. The one without the spring clip will go to the right. Feed them on through. I lined it up wrong, so hold on. Let me flip it around 180. It's kind of hard to hold all of this together. There we go. Make sure you got the short end of your foam facing up with the housing, or else you're not going to line it up right. Spring clip again to the left, the non-spring clip to the right. Just kind of seat that in there, pull the pump, plug it in, just pushes and snaps. And then we can just feed the whole body, lining up our foam as we go through. There we go. Make sure our wires are looking okay. Take this piece of the foam. You'll notice that there's an indentation for the wires. We'll just feed that around our wiring there. Pop that back in. Got our pump body assembly put back together. Make sure our snaps are gonna line up. Yep, we got the little channel right there for the wiring. We just line up our snaps. Snap it in place. Got that set, and then it can mount right back onto those studs that we have on the body. Put your 10mm bolts back on, plug it in, run all your cabling, and you're good to go. Again, for the panels, it's the exact reverse of pulling it apart. Bit of a lengthy process. It was actually pretty easy to do, but the majority of it was actually trying to just figure out how to pull these clips out and then get the panels off. So, any questions, comments, concerns, shoot me a comment down below, and I'll get to you as soon as I can. So hopefully you have good luck changing out this hydraulic power lift arm on your 2012 GMC Terrain. Thanks.